I'm joined as ever by my friend Anne Lord Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello, it is always so good to be with you. Hello.
I love chatting about sensory health because, excuse me, it's such a part of life that many may not even realize is an actual thing. It's not some weird theoretical, hypothetical thing. This is very real. So it's always been an honor to think, we can actually shine a light on this thing that affects people, that affects every single one of us, because we get physical health, we understand that better. Mental health, yet we're getting better at looking after that, perhaps even spiritual health and well-being, but sensory health, I'm really happy that we get to talk about it.
And you are pioneering this, actually. You are pioneering in so many different ways, and I'm doing it in my little world. But it's I love it when the worlds collide and combine, and together we have a more of a voice to reach people, to help people, to show people that it is a really serious thing. If you've got sensory health issues, sensory processing and integration issues, it will affect you big time. Just off a call, literally half an hour before this time that we're recording. Two lovely families in the UK, and there's just no support. They're just not getting what they need, and they're struggling. They're really struggling with behaviours. Sleeping and eating, coordination, dressing, toileting, just the whole thing. And these are not little children. These are big young men. So.
And this is something that I always like to flag up as much as I can remember to do so, because we're not talking about children who are a bit naughty in a supermarket. Perhaps that's a struggle that you have, and maybe they are just badly behaved children, but perhaps actually they can't cope with the smells, the hard floor, the lighting. There's also other possibilities. And I guess my heart and passion for wanting to do this as long as we physically can is to say, look, this isn't just about children. This isn't just about old people or middle-aged people. This is about everybody has a sensory health, and that health needs to be cared for. And once you deal with some of the sensory health components that you get to spot, actually maybe some of the behaviors that we can't deal with, if they start to diminish, well, now that gets better and easier. And now we're not arriving stressed and angry and out of sorts with ourselves because now our children are not getting aggressive, getting in the car. Maybe our wife is now better because she's understanding better what clothes not to wear. And now we can go out to the restaurant without her being unable to cope because she's wearing a cloth that her body can't cope with because of sensory healthy overload.
Brilliantly put, Mr. B. Yeah, totally, totally. All ages, all stages, and it's the little things that we're highlighting and bringing to people's mind that actually, this is a real thing, and the smallest changes, as well as the big changes, can make a huge difference to people, and we love that bit.
Before we go into today's wherever we're going to go, and I haven't made it up yet. Well, sometimes it's an idea, but anyway, we've been thinking recently about looking around the world, especially social media. It's such a dark place so frequently. Social media exists, and we know this to be true because so many people have spoken it and proven it now. We know the algorithms are trying to retain you on that particular platform, which means they're going to feed you stuff that you agree with or get angry with in order to retain you, because let's be honest, social media is a business. You may not be paying for Facebook, but you are paying differently. So social media has become quite a dark, scary place. I meet people all the time. Do you know, I'm sick of social media. I saw a person recently who's got some really beautiful things to say. No, that's it. I'm off social media. I can no longer tolerate with the hatred that is out there. And they've recently come back on again after a bit of a sabbatical. That's becoming normalized. And the thing is, there's so much bad stuff in the world. But the problem is, there's more good than there is bad. I absolutely believe that with every single fiber of my being. The problem is, the bad stuff always shouts louder, seems a bit scarier, seems a bit more problematic. But actually, there's something we can do, and we each can make a difference to somebody else's life. And that's in relation to sensory health, where you come in, which is why this is such a privilege. Because if we can help someone to understand that there's nothing wrong with them, they're not stupid, they're not reckless or, an idiot, they actually have an issue holding a pen because they have an issue holding a pen. If we can fix that, then all of a sudden their life gets infinitesimally better, rather than saying, what's wrong with you? You're an idiot. Why can't you hold a pen? Well, yeah, there's a possibility they're an idiot. I really seriously doubt that. It's very unlikely. The greater probability is there's an issue with sensory overload. They can't cope with it. And no one's taken the time to listen. And listening in what you do is the difference between helping somebody, hearing the story, as opposed to, oh, just another idiotic mother. Why can't she control the child in the supermarket? It's ruining my day. Do you know what? We don't understand the thing and what's going on in their life and walk a mile in their shoes. I think I really believe that. So it's a very long introduction too. Why does your field of expertise matter?
Yeah. Those things that you have said, I love the detail. I think God in particular, he's a God of detail, and there are things that are always being revealed. We're always finding new things. Archaeology, they're always digging up something new. They're just finding new things all over the place and all over the world as we get and explore. Neuroscience, the more we can understand and we dig in and we can see the brain and we can see the neural pathways, we see things that are working, and we get more of an explanation of our behaviors from a different perspective. And that's why I particularly love what we do, because there's so much that we don't know. And we're in a position of humility, thinking that actually we, from a sensory, all our sensory specialists, we see a behavior and we interpret it through what we know about the way that our body and our brains are made, how they're designed, where the nerves go, which bits of the brain do they go to, which other bits of the brain and the body do they connect to, so that we can get them speaking better together, because that's the processing part of it. There isn't like, it's not like there's a nerve damage that it's been severed, there's been an accident. That is definitely going to affect their sensory processing, but it's not because of a sensory processing issue. It's because of a nerve issue and a nerve damage. So we're not about the damage. So I love that detective work. And I think that's why I like murder mysteries so much and things like that, because I'm always wanting to discover things, wanting to find out. And therefore, when I see a behavior, my little brain's going, oh, it could be this. It could be, are they overreactive in their touch system? Are they really bothered by the sounds? Are they bothered by the feel of their clothes? Or do they just not feel their body very well, so they're tripping over themselves? Or is it because, so my little brain is always on the go. Little feet, your little ducks flapping underneath the water as I'm, going about my daily life, just considering things, because it's really appealing to me. And then especially when I can help behaviors change, that's then lovely, really satisfying, and you feel good.
I do have something for us to discuss in a bit, but honestly, I do. But I was thinking about the two phone calls that you've had earlier from two folks who are, you describe them as there's no support. They're obviously struggling with something. Bedtime's a classic one. Whether you're younger or older, we know that toddlers around 1 to 4, it's going to be harder. They're trying to understand who they are in the world. They're getting assertive. They're getting bigger. They can actually say no to stuff, not just mentally and verbally, but physically as well. And there's a we understand that bit, but it doesn't stop aged 3.5. I have a real issue with terrible twos. I really loathe that phrase. Do you know why? Because it's rubbish. We're going to have different things, thank you, at different times, and we're going to do better at other times. And if we can just take a step back, how much better the world would be. But specifically with those two that you just had, how is it you're going to be able to help them overcome whatever the issues are in their lives in order that they don't need your help? Because ultimately you're kind of doing yourself out a job by helping people. Yeah. But that's the job, right? It's never going to go away, but that's the mission for you, is that people don't need you because they can actually do things themselves.
Yeah. So I was explaining that, yeah, totally, it is about watching what I have recorded already, because over the last 30 years there are certain things that keep coming back time and time again, and I'm getting better and better as each year goes on at being able to express it, as to what it is that we need to look at, how we assess it properly, so that then we can then find things to meet those needs. So it's really equipping and empowering these dear parents for them to understand, because all they see is behavior, all they see is the stress, is the exhaustion. That's all that they get, and they don't know how to discern what's going on. They don't know how to pick away at what's really going on, to say, actually, there could be one major thing that is going on that is impacting the behaviors, but they don't even know where to start. They don't know what to look at. All they see are the meltdowns, all they see are the struggles, and they genuinely are doing their very best, but they have no skills to be able to bring to that situation, because they don't know about how the impact of the sensory issues are affecting their individuals. So absolutely. I think that the biggest job is if I can help get people to understand the complexity of sensory processing. So there's a lot of general stuff out there. And I really don't want generalities. I want people to be able to take information about sensory processing, but apply it in an individualized way. Make it really, really personal to that one person. In fact, the two parents came on together, and they said, "Well, we've come on together, but we've got very different children." And it was just like, yeah, the old saying, if you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. Everybody is so different. So, yeah. It's if I can help equip them to understand, they will get it. Their confidence is what soars more than anything. We can't change absolutely everything, but when you can understand it and you are in control of your own reactions, that is so empowering. That's very, yeah, empowering for sure. And takes an awful lot of the stress away because so much stress is there because of uncertainty. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it enough? This morning I came back from a school who'd called me in because they needed that security. They are working through my system, but because I'm here physically there for them, they just wanted me to double check. And it's just like, yeah, you're doing, and I did. It was like, you're doing amazingly. Yes, of course, there were always more things that I can see because of the experience that I've got, but they were doing really, really well. And it was just great to be able to say, you're doing really, really well. And you could tell that they were like, oh, yeah, we are actually getting there. We are understanding this. But it gave them a few extra things because I could. But yeah, confidence is huge.
Now, we've been working through sensory healthy somethings. I don't know, sensory healthy marriages, sensory healthy going to bed, sensory healthy shopping, sensory healthy churches. We've looked at all sorts of perspectives of something from a sensory healthy perspective. Now, a lot of those would be what I would call manufactured spaces. So an office or a car or a truck or a church or whatever, they are created by us for the majority of people. Therefore, we're looking at generalizations. We're looking at how many people are in the average thing and how they're going to be. So here's one that's nothing to do with manufactured spaces. Parks and nature, sensory healthy parks and nature.
Oh, they are just a dream, a dream space with a few things that you need to watch out for. Yeah, because it's we often like controlled spaces, um, but I love the fact there are such freedom within parks. Okay, let me just go all the beautiful positives about parks and open spaces. Apart from the fact you can't control temperature and you can't control the weather. So let's take that it's a relatively sensory healthy general. It's not too cold, it's not too warm, it's not too bright, it's not too anything. It's just a good day to be out. And therefore, the environment from that perspective is taken care of. But the things that you see, you can choose if you want to sit, if you want to just watch and visually. There is so much in the natural world that moves and the pleasure. You don't need to have a bubble tube, in the corner of your room. You don't need to put electricity on because you've got leaves that will move. You've got animals that will fly, or birds that will fly around. You've got animals that might creep around. You might have tiny little insects. If for people who love the detail, if they've got real visual perceptual skills, they love looking at the detail and the colors and the textures and the way that the light. So visually, it's normally such a rich environment to be able to sit and enjoy. Auditory wise, you have beautiful nature sound that are just designed for our ears, for humanity. If you're not next to a road, because otherwise, yeah, the motorbike and everything else might disturb that. But from an auditory perspective, a beautiful sound environment. Physically, you can choose. That's what I love most, I think, about most play areas, play parks, or outside spaces that you can choose. You can run as fast as you want to. You can walk. You might be able to skate. You might be able to scooter. You can get your proprioceptive vestibular system working in a way that you need it to. And you can stay as long as you need on these things. So if you've got monkey bars, you can hook your feet upside down and you can dangle upside down and you can stay there for as long as you are happy, or swing and Just feed your senses as much as you want to. And there is freedom because you don't have to pay for it. If the weather holds out, you can be there for as long as you want to. If you've got no other time constraints, you are there to be able to meet your sensory needs as much as you want to. It's like the little boy that I was seeing this morning in school. He spent 2 hours. He spent 2 hours on the swing. He was on and he was off. We have a special kind of like lycra. It's a four-way fabric that holds them and supports them. And I was going in and observing and looking at a whole range of different things and seeing what he actually needed. And there's no verbal communication. But so we were looking at how else is he communicating? How else is he showing me what he needs? How else is he putting his body within that swing to show me what else he's looking for his vestibular system? And we had a really beautiful time. He was as happy as Larry, and so was I. and so was it, support worker, just working together, saying, okay, what is it he's needing here for him to be in school? What is it that he needs his school day to look like? Because ordinarily he doesn't want to be there and he'll be out of there. So yeah, all making life not very pleasant for everybody else in the class. But we had a beautiful couple of hours together, just exploring different things. So yes, going back to your play area, it is that time to feed into your system the things that it needs when you need it. And you can go anytime you want and you don't have to pay. It's free.
I was thinking about your thing on the motorbike. So we've got some beautiful grounds where we live and work, and we thought, well, let's just go and sit in the garden. The sun's shining. The autumn, the winter is kind of here. It's going to get colder. There was a beautiful moment of sun. Let's just go and sit on a day off. We're going to sit in the garden. The sun pouring down. We got the chairs out. Beautiful. You can hear little birds in the distance, and tractor maybe in the far distance. It was beautiful. And then a bunch of vintage motorcycles went past, which are quite loud. And we just looked at each other. We couldn't hear each other talking for about 5 minutes or something. And you can't control everything, which is why, as an occupational therapist, which I guess is the core part of what you are, you have to know that there are things you can't do anything about, which is one of the things you reference to the outdoors, whether it's a play area or a forest. I love a forest. I love the sound of the trees creaking a little bit. It can be a bit eerie if you're a bit nervous about such things, but I love hearing the trees creaking and the smell of the pine. But for some people who perhaps are overly sensitive to smells, the smell of the pine might destroy any enjoyment they have. So don't go to a forest. But it's good if you don't know to try a forest out and think, oh, actually, it's okay. And the beautiful thing about it is the further in you get, the more concentrated the smell is. If it's too much, you can always come out of it. And you're always talking about like desensitizing people by sort of increasing the noise or the whatever it is they're doing. Well, you can do that with a pine forest. No one's going to stop you. Yeah. You look a bit silly, but who cares? Everyone looks silly one way or another because we walk around. Walking is perpetually not falling over. I love that. We're all a bit silly. But in terms of the forest, you can get as immersed in that smell as you want or back out. So you can actually desensitize yourself to something. It's free.
Yeah, and that total sense of control over anything, and that's how you find out the things that are find out the things that do really work for you. I love that smell of pine. It's like having fresh cut grass. I mean, take me anywhere, and I'm so happy because of those smells. But you need to find the right sensory fit. You need to find what fits your sensory thumbprint. But between the sights and the smells and how dark or how cold or how windy, you can't actually tolerate all of these things. And that's, I suppose, in a way, why I've got an indoor centre, because I thought actually we can control that little bit of the environment, but it's all manufactured stuff within there. And that's, there's a place for all of this. But there is something about nature that is abundantly good for us.
I'll be careful how I repeat this, but there was a thing I saw on one of the social media channels recently about a farmer, and he was basically writing about, if you're going to come to the countryside, can I please let you know that you need to be okay with animals having sex outside, because, hey, they're animals. You need to be okay with noises because pigs aren't quiet. And he went on and on and on. It's like, if you have an issue with any of those things, please never come to the countryside, because you know what? We can't control that stuff. It's the outdoors. They're animals. And I just think, that is such a great way of assessing enjoying the outside, which is to start with, do you know what? That horse is going to make a noise. You're not going to stop it. I mean, you
Mhm.
can scare it, but you're not going to prevent it. Those pigs in that farm might be a bit smelly. You're not going to stop it. So you need to find a way of being okay with that. If you really can't tolerate it, maybe working as a pig farmer is not for you. But
Yeah.
if you're not bothered by that, maybe that's a perfect fit. If you're less sensitive about smell, but there is a fit for each of us. And I think I was just excited by the outdoors when there's so many things, like you said, you can control the temperature and the brightness in the center because it's a manufactured space. It's got four walls and a roof. It's got a light switch and a dimmer switch, perhaps. So you can control things to hone in what is it we need to deal with. Outside, it's all there.
It's all there, and for the most part, absolutely stunningly good for the amount of input, like even climbing over things, because the biggest aspect of sensory processing integration is an adaptive response, which is doing something different with your body that isn't pre-planned. So if you go to a dance class, you have to move your arms in a certain way and you follow the rhythm and this, that, and the other. And that's quite controlled, or it's quite organized. And those movements are planned or pre-planned or choreographed for you. The same for if you're writing, this is how you make an A and this is how you this, that, and the other. And you know where your hand is, you've got the paper a certain, distance away from the pen and on a surface that should be able to take and make an imprint on that paper. You go outside, and even the concept of stepping over a twig or stepping over a branch is just like, well, actually, how high is that branch? How thick is it? Does it have any moss? Is it going to be slippy, slidey? All of those little things, your body is having to make an adaptive response, which is so good for the brain. Those are the things that we want to be feeding in from a sensory processing perspective. It's those physical details that your brain is having to adapt to and adjust to all the time because it is so not controlled. And it's also different. The way you climb one tree is going to be different to the way that you climb another because of the distance in the branches, the thickness of the branches, how old the tree is, the orientation, which way it faces, what type of tree it is. You could go on and on and on. And it's because nature is so unique. And that is precious, and that is so good for the brain to be able to feed into it to get your brain processing well. So even climbing rocks, if you don't have a forest, get out onto the beach and go and start climbing some rocks, just to develop that coordination, develop the sensory input into your body in a way that challenges your brain with every single step. As long as it's not too steep, you've got to get the just right challenge for sure. Otherwise, we don't want accidents or injuries.
Um, go with me a minute. Flat feet. My granddad was a soldier in the Second World War, and he was very fit. He ended up fighting in Burma, so lots of mountains and forests and stuff. He had an issue with flat feet, which he didn't have when he joined the army, because when he was on a troop ship, all of a sudden he's not got uneven surfaces, which is what he was used to marching around on. He's on a completely perfectly flat surface on a ship. He was on there for a very long time, and a lot of the soldiers struggled with flat feet because now they're walking around, and someone explained it to me later on. The problem is when you're walking, there's supposed to be a curve, you're supposed to be able to put half a fist in the bottom of your foot. There should be a natural curve, but when you've got nothing to walk over, all of a sudden your tendons, your muscles may not continue to do that, and they'll end up being flat feet. So there was a solution, which is a bit hardcore. Basically, walk around on a really hard thing until the curve gets back. But it made me think about how it's good to challenge ourselves in different ways, because otherwise, if we are only in controllable situations like a ship with perfectly flat everything, our feet, which may be conditioned perfectly for rocks and mountains and trees, all of a sudden you're going to have flat feet, which is not an issue for you because you've just not used part of you in a really good, healthy way. Not that it's wrong to be a sailor, but they're used to it. And that was the point. It's the difference between being used to it and not being used to it, which just got me thinking about what you were saying about the outside, because actually it's good for us to do things that aren't perfectly set heights. Think about the ladder, the rungs in a gym, in a school, and they're perfectly, what is it, so many inches apart. It's ideal. You know where they are. Well, like you said, trees aren't. That branch isn't going to be uniform, but actually, in a really good way, that ununiformity is a good thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to be creating in a therapeutic sense. That's what we're always trying to do is trying to find the uh, enough of that challenge to the brain, because anybody it's dead easy going up a ladder. Once you've done it once, you've done it all. But you climb one tree, yes, you can climb one tree, but actually we've got another one to do now, and that's different. And we need your brain to be adaptable and changeable to be able to manage that tree, as well as you did that as the last one. Mm.
I mean, it might be great to come to your center and to use that and to develop your muscles and your strength, your coordination, particularly things like I love the muscle memory thing. I love the fact that, I know, but I'm holding a pen, which I often have a pen in my hand. I know where the end is. I know if I click that, it's going to make a noise. I know I sometimes take it apart. If it falls apart, I can put it back together again. It's a hazard of being a non-doodler, I suppose. But I know how to do it. So I can do it in the dark and I can do it without looking, and it's fine. It's not necessarily a good thing to do, but actually practicing things means that when it does go wrong, I can actually fix it because I practiced it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's interesting when we're dealing with dyspraxic people, there is a combination. We're always split as therapists whether you want to feed into their sensory processing, which is their muscles and their joints, their body awareness, their tactile system, because that their touch awareness, because that feeds into their body awareness in order to be able to be coordinated and not drop a cup. But you've got other aspects of dyspraxia where you do need to practice, because actually it is in the practicing that they are actually going to be able to achieve that skill. So as a therapist, we're always actually split between those two areas. How much do we concentrate on the practice and the skill development and just going over those things and making sure they can understand what needs to be done and that they can motor plan to be able to do it, versus let's feed their senses from underneath, get them as integrated as possible, get them as aware of their own body as much as possible. And then sometimes then they're just able to do those things because they've got their sensory processing is a lot stronger. And sometimes most of the time, it's probably a bit of both. Feed the senses where we can, but actually teach the practical skills, teach the way of doing something and practice it, so that we definitely get a function at the end, which is what we want. We want people to be able to do things and do things well and do things that they want to do for themselves, which is the occupational therapy aspect of it.
Which I suppose fits quite well with how we would generally parent a smaller child. We're not going to say, here's a pen, where's your Shakespeare play, please, at age 2. It's not going to happen, because before they get to that, they've got to be able to hold a pen for a start, which by the age of 3 can be quite hard. So there's going to be that gradual development of learning skills, improving skills, and eventually 7 to 10 years old, maybe they can start writing something with some sentences. Age 15, it's probably better. And then over 10 to 15 years of developing that. And then all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, it's like a 30-year training program to write that thesis or that thing, because it takes time to develop. But you don't stick a pen in a 2-year-old's hand saying, I want a Shakespeare play before the end of the day. It's not going to happen anymore that somebody who has no concept of what their fingers are feeling is going to be able to make a meal on a hot stove when you say, well, off you go, because you're going to have to build up to that moment through developing motor skills, basic ones, then fine motor skills, and so on and so forth. Which is why we need to be careful when we're looking at somebody, not to say, do you know what, just do it, just get it done. I've been in situations where I could do something and somebody who said, oh, well, I haven't got, just do it anyway. But if I don't know how to do it, you shouting at me to do something I don't know how to do, exactly how is that going to play out?
Oh, I know.
I've been there. But we need to be patient with people and walk in their footsteps. And I
Yeah.
think it's something, I mean, I'm thinking about parks and nature today. I've got another one for next week. But I think sometimes it's good to get yourself out of your comfort zone, take a whole bunch of risks sensibly, measured risk, in order to develop. Otherwise, you'll find that all you can really do is hold a pen because you don't know what to do with it.
And your world can close. It's funny that there are times that, especially those transitioning from school, because it's been a real nightmare of an experience, and then there's burnouts and meltdowns and shutdowns and all the rest of it. So there's folks that are moving home to just have that safety and that nurture, that rebuilding of that child, because we're talking about the schooling system, and that is what we absolutely need. But to stay there would not be healthy. It may take a year or two before you can start opening the doors and starting exposing them to life again. And so be it. But you just can't stay there full stop. But I would say after five, well, I'm not even going to put time scales on it, but it's like we need to people to come back and protect themselves, but never to stay there. It's always we need to get back out into the world slowly, 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 in a way that is really measured and careful. Otherwise, we'll damage people again and they'll retreat back and they won't have that confidence to try something new, to try something a little bit different. But and it's that differences. It is those risks. It's a little exposure to something that they're not as aware of. That's what keeps the brain alive and alert. Otherwise, it's very easy to turn in on ourselves and we just stay. And that can be okay, but it can go downhill quite quickly as well as to someone's mental health if they're not particularly happy in that place. There are some people that will be. I'm trying to talk about it, trying to be quite measured because, for some people, actually being at home on their own is an absolutely brilliant thing because there's no pressure. The people who loved COVID, it's kind of like, yes, I totally get it. But for the most part, we do need to make sure we have sensory experiences in our life and not make it too comfortable. Because, yeah, having different sensory experiences or having different life experiences can be then really challenging.
I saw at a supermarket quite a while back. There was an old gentleman, I'm guessing 70s, 80s, and they were struggling to pick up something lower down on the shelving. And I think I said, "Do you want a hand?" And the comment was no. And the reason why he said was, "I need to keep doing this because if I stop doing this, it's going to get even harder, even quicker." So as difficult as it was, and obviously he was struggling to bend down, he said, "But I need to keep going because the moment I stop trying is the moment I stop achieving, and it all goes wrong much faster." I thought it was quite a great self-awareness, and it was genuinely painful, not in a hurry up way. It was a painful to think, wow, I can see he's in pain. I want to help him, but sometimes helping isn't actually helping.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's he was spot on. Absolutely, sir. That's what we need to continue to be able to do for as long as we possibly can.
Yep, absolutely. And thank you as ever. I like these. Are funny. I like these sessions. So if people want to connect with you, and they can do, you're on the Isle of Jersey, so you have a centre where they can actually use that and connect with that, which is great.
Mhm.
If you want to connect with them, the best thing you can do is go to our website, pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and that will connect you with Anne Lord Jackson and all that she does and the help that she offers. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. See you soon.